Chapter 7, The Graveyard. The crew had gone home hours ago. The machines shut down, the floodlights off. The only sound was the river moving somewhere beyond the trees, slow and steady, like it didn't care what men did on its banks. Nate pulled up anyway. He told himself he was checking on progress, making sure the foreman had done what he was told, making sure the ground was level, the way it needed to be for the concrete pour. But the truth was simpler and uglier. He didn't like the way the foreman had looked at him. He didn't like the silence that had followed him back to his truck. He didn't like the feeling that something had been left unfinished. He stepped out of the SUV, gravel crunching under his shoes. The night air was colder than it should have been, damp, heavy. The kind of cold that felt like it came from the ground instead of the sky. He walked toward the fenced-off area. The soil was smooth now. A long, perfect rectangle of earth, tamped down and leveled, hiding everything beneath it. He exhaled, annoyed at himself for even being here. Then the woods shifted, not the wind. Not an animal, something moving. A dark shape was moving slowly between the trees, slowly, silently. Nate's head snapped toward it, but the tree line was still again, the branches motionless. He frowned. Hello! Silence, then another movement, this time higher. A figure slipping behind a trunk, too tall to be a deer, too smooth to be a person. Nate's pulse kicked once hard. He took a step back without meaning to. A pale light flickered between the trees. At first he thought it was a flashlight, then it drifted upward. Slow, weightless. A soft, bluish orb rising through the branches like a bubble through water. Another appeared. Then another. A cluster of them hovered at the edge of the clearing, pulsing faintly, drifting in slow arcs that made no sense, like fireflies, against the direction of the breeze, against gravity, against logic. Nate blinked hard. What the hell? The orbs vanished all at once. The woods went silent, completely silent, no insects. No river, no wind, just a thick, unnatural stillness that pressed against his ears. Then he heard it. A whisper, not a voice he could understand, just breathy syllables, layered and overlapping, like several people speaking at once from different distances. He turned toward the sound. It wasn't coming from the woods, it was coming from the clearing, from the burial ground. The whispering grew louder, circling him, slipping behind him, then in front of him, then beside his ear. He spun, heart hammering, but there was no one there. Stop, he muttered, though he didn't know who he was talking to. A shape appeared at the far end of the clearing, a figure. Tall, still. Standing exactly where the row of bodies had been uncovered, Nate froze. The figure didn't move, didn't breathe. Didn't blink. It was just a silhouette, dark against the darker woods, its edges flickering like heat haze, its form shifting slightly as if it were made of smoke instead of flesh. Nate's throat tightened. The figure tilted its head, just a fraction. Just enough to acknowledge him. The whispering stopped. The cold hit him like a wave, sharp, sudden, biting. His breath fogged in front of him even though the night wasn't that cold. Nate stumbled backward, nearly tripping over his own feet. He didn't look away. Couldn't. Another orb flickered to life beside the figure, then another, drifting upward like sparks from an invisible fire. The figure dissolved, not disappeared, dissolved, breaking apart into a scatter of pale lights that rose into the air and vanished into the treetops. Nate stood alone in the clearing, chest heaving, the cold still clinging to him like a second skin. He backed toward the SUV, refusing to turn his back on the woods. The whispering started again, soft, distant, like a warning carried on breath. He reached the door, yanked it open, and slid inside. His hands shook as he jammed the key into the ignition. He was shaking. His eyes were tearing. The engine roared to life. He drove away without looking back. But the woods watched him go.